What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for episode 6 of Tigers Franchise. It's been a little while, so I appreciate your patience. Been busy with a lot of work. Then I had a little issue with my dog Charlotte. She was a little unwell for a couple days. All good now, so no need to worry about it, but kind of took me out of working on really anything. So extra little delay there, but my apologies. But we got a lot to get through. I last left you on May 1st. We had a pretty strong first month, and now I want to take you through May, June into July. We're at the draft. We're going to go through what the Major League team has been doing, get some updates on some things, and kind of get the lay of the land. Now, of course, everyone who's played this game knows where to look. You can find a spoiler on the record if you want, or you can have the guided tour here as we go through it. But things have been going pretty well, without a doubt. Let's start here in May. We had this 18-1 game off rip here, May 3rd. I mean, just anytime you put up a big score like this, it's fun to take a look at the box score when you drop 18 runs and Willie Adames and Dylan Dingler don't do anything as far as getting a hit, but everyone got a run, ribby, or something, right? So I'm always looking at the fantasy angle of things because that's my livelihood. So I'm like, who didn't contribute? Well, even with Adames going 0 for 5, you got a run and a ribby, you got a piece, and you got 3 runs scored with Dylan Dingler. So if you did have those guys in this fictional world, you still got something. But it was Riley Green's show. He had 2 home runs, 4 hits, 3 runs, 4 ribbies. Torque drove in 4. Watanabe went 1 for 3, but made it count. They walked him the other 3 times. He went yard for his 10th. It was a 3-run shot. He scored 4 runs. Had a massive day, and they only got 1 hit. Could you imagine, like, oh, we held him to just 1 hit? Yeah, he still had a colossal impact. So that was a big game that we had there, and we ended up taking that series against Boston, but then played the other Sox in the next series, dropped the series to them, 2-1. Milwaukee, nice sweep here, little 3-game action, and we got progressively better against them offensively. 2 runs, 7 runs, and then 13. This 13-12 game. Look at this win probability graph going crazy here. A little roller coaster action. You're up, boom, come all the way down, and then go back up again. And that ends up with a win for us because guess what? Riley Green, 2-run homer, and Riley Green hit 2 homers in this game. He's up to 9 now in the season at this point, which was on May 12th. He put up 4 hits, 4 ribbies, 3 runs with the 2 homers, multiple hits for Watanabe, Austin Meadows, Willie Adames, Akil Baddoo, Spencer Torkelson, 4 for McKinstry. Just a clinic there. Brandon Woodruff got knocked around, but Plutko and Liam Hendricks also really took a couple beatings there. Then we scored 13 the very next game at KC, but we didn't give up as many runs. This time it was just 4. Tariq Skubal was pretty good. Mostly doubles as far as our extra base hits go. We had McKinstry with 1, Riley Green with 3, Dylan Dingler, Parker Meadows each had 1. So Green with a 5-hit game here, 4 runs. He is just on fire at this point. His May is off to a wonderful start about 2 weeks in, and let me just spoil it right now, it would not slow down. 9-6 is the next game. Watanabe goes yard. Let's see, it looks like Green maybe got a breather, came in, took a walk on a pinch hit. That's the only way they can stop him. They're just like, nah, just get to first. We don't want you to hit. We dropped the 3rd game, but then take the 4th. It was a 9-5 win against KC, so we get the series. Torque and Watanabe go yard. Green back at it again with a couple hits. Then we take a series against Oakland at home with a 7-6 win in 10, which was a pretty fun win on Saturday. That was a late win with the walk-off. Zach McKinstry drove it in. And let's see, did Riley Green go off in this one? No, it was an 0 for 5. So he does bleed. He does, he is human here. But then get back going against Cleveland. They come into town, go 12-2 in the first game. You're thinking, here they go again. They're going to steamroll somebody. But then the next 2 games, we drop them, and that's another series loss for us. Bounced back with a sweep against KC, though. 9-1 for the first game. Riley Green 3 for 5 with 5 ribbies, 2 runs. Another 2-homer game. Oh my God, I hadn't even seen that one. And then 6-1, Green, only 1 hit. It wasn't a homer though. Usually when it's that 4-1-1-1, you're like, is that a solo shot? No, it looks like I just had an RBI single and then was driven in later, maybe on one of Watanabe's 2 homers. He's up to 17 at this point. Then for the sweep on Sunday, it was a 7-2 win. and Green got the day off. Okay, so we didn't even need Green. Look at that. The offense cooking, doesn't even need Green with his crazy run here. Get Cleveland on the kind of home and home here, and we take the series 5-0, drop 1 7-0, but then win 10-5. That 10-5 game, did Green go off? He went 1 for 3, but scored 3 runs and drove into, again, the walks were making them hurt, which is huge. So you can see a lot of positivity here in May with the ball club. At one point, Willie Adames had 8-game RBI streak and a 9-game run streak, and that ended on 5/19. I want to say both of those streaks came up on that day, if I recall correctly. That was a while ago, so let's see how accurate that was. That's what the accomplishment was. Let's see if it is correct here. So go back to May. All the way back to May. Oh yeah, you can see it right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 on the runs. So they didn't lie. But then I think it said 8 RBI game streak. Which one's the RBI column? That would be, oh, that's over here. Okay. I thought it was like a traditional box score. I was like, I'm not seeing 8 in a row. Although I'm still not. So, oh wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Boom. And that ended on the 15th. Okay, so they did pop up at the same time. I'm wondering if it was like a period of sim that I did, and so it gave you all the notifications after that period. But I usually go day to day, so I don't know. But either way, those are both legit streaks. Willie Adames, you can see doing his thing at least back in May. We had a huge May. Things went well there for sure. It ended up being a 17-12 month, and as you might have guessed with the way I was constantly talking about him, Riley Green was able to get Player of the Month in May. Ends up putting up a 225 WRC plus, y'all. That is absolutely obscene. 398 average, 472 OBP, 741 slug with 9 homers, 26 runs batted in, and 28 scored. I mean, you talk about catalyst. Like that is term definition right there with that kind of excellence. And just to kind of see a little ahead here, in June and July, he has certainly not slowed down to a massive degree. He's come back to earth to show that he's just a regular old great player as opposed to a superhuman god. But 136 in June for WRC plus, and then 127 in 9 games so far in July. I got no issues with that. He is still playing at an amazingly high level. Definitely going to the All-Star game. Got to be having himself out front for maybe for some end of season award considerations. Then in the June development report, folks, that one didn't go so well. I'm just going to let y'all know because the draft prospects that we got, they got clobbered. Lots of hits down here, as you can see with Batanti, Winokur. Yancel Guerrero wasn't a draftee, but he was a pickup in a trade, and then Justin Best. Batanti, our number 1 pick, number 3 overall, down to a 50 potential. He's gotten really undercut here. Now, I'm going to make sure that we're not going to panic here, because I've seen prospects do this where they've got their big gaudy, 80, 90, whatever it is, blue potential. They come back down all the way to, say, 50, 55. You're like, oh God, this guy failed. He's already a piece of crap. Got to get rid of him, trade him for whatever. And then they come back up and they end up being great. It's far too early. It's far too early to overreact in any way, shape, or form. This was a big hit. It was 5s down in a bunch of categories, and that took 40 off of his potential overall. But that tells you kind of how quickly it can turn right back around, though, right? Another good report, and he's all the way back up into premium player territory. So we're not panicked. Does it stink? Do you love to see the blue and the green when it comes to potential ratings, which is 55 and above for blue, and then 70 and above for green? Or excuse me, reverse those. The blue would be 70 and above. Of course you do. But it's a process, and prospect growth is not linear. It's something I learned years ago and was a key lesson for me. Really, really helped me with fantasy baseball as well. Guys don't take linear paths all the time, and you just have to remind yourself. We look for trends, we look for progress, and we're just like freaked out by when it fails to continue on that same trajectory. Like, what's going on? There's ebbs and flows. There's ups and downs. Some guys stair-step perfectly. Boom, 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 and they become studs. They live there for a while, and then they start their slow decline, and they have just the most traditional development path ever. Other guys are like an EKG, man. Seriously. And others still are more Here, there's a million different paths. Bottom line, we're not freaking out about Batanti. He's off to a dreadful start at Lakeland. We'll be all right. I do wonder if maybe he should just be in the rookie. But he got some time there last year. I figured maybe a month wasn't enough. Maybe this is on me a bit, where I'm pushing him, because he is 30-30-30 on the contact gap and avoid K. So maybe he's just not ready, and if we push him back to rookie, maybe that gets him back on track. Yeah, he is a lot more of a better player down there. You know what? Maybe I did. Maybe I went too hard, too soon. Pop him back down there. Now he's going to be pissed. But if he starts playing better, maybe that will help. So hopefully I didn't already stunt our first top pick. I don't think I did, but guys get sent down and have to come back up in real life too. That one did stink. So then comes June, and let's go through what we had going in June. It was another good month. I'm just going to let you know. I mean, you can just briefly glance at this and you see plenty of green, and you're going to find out that similar month to last month with a little less red mixed in. So we closed May with 2 losses at Minnesota. We get the next 2 to salvage the 4-gamer, so that was nice. We get a sweep at Houston. Fantastic. Then Minnesota comes to visit us. We take 2 out of 3 from them. Then we head off to New York to face the Yankees, take 2 out of 3 from them. And both times we took the opening 2 games, so we were playing with house money on that 3rd game. Then we come home for a series against Atlanta, and this was a barn burner series, and we take it 3-0 sweep. So Atlanta, by the way, they're 40-49, just to bring you current there. On June 14th, I don't know exactly what their record was, but they were a good team. So the 3-0 game here is a battle between Job and Strom. Now we have an opener for Job, so DaCosta started it, passed it off to Job for 4 2/3, then CD-Rom took over. Strom, for his part, didn't pitch too poorly, but they didn't get anything off DaCosta, Job, and Rom, so we win 3-0. Watanabe took care of the offense, said, "Get on my back, fellas, I got y'all." He hits 2 homers off of Strom, good for all 3 of the runs. Bingo, bango, bongo, we get the dub there. Then we go 3-1 on the Saturday afternoon game. Tariq Skubal, is it Tariq or Tariq? I always say Tariq, but I'm questioning myself like right this moment. The first time I said his name earlier, I was like, I think it's different on I almost said IMDb, on the baseball's version of IMDb, Baseball Reference. I think they have TARE-IK or something like that. Let me just look it up. Let me just do that instead of speculating. But I think it might be Tariq. But I call him Tariq Skubal. Tariq. TARE-ICK. Tariq Skubal. What was I saying earlier? Tariq? I think I was saying Tariq. Anyway, Skubal pitched well. He's back in real life too, pitching well. That's got me really excited. Green hit his 15th of the year in this game. So then again, house money on Sunday, and we go 3-2 for the sweep, win it in 12. I love the 3-0, 3-1, 3-2 development of it. This was a hell of a game, back and forth. They score 1 in the 2nd. We get 2 back in the 3rd. They tie it in the 5th. It goes scoreless all the way till the 12th. And there weren't a ton of base runners being left on. The pitchers were on their game. Max Fried put up big boy performance. 8 innings of 2-run ball. Turned it over to Iglesias and Minter, both of whom pitched well. It was one of the ghost runners who scored, and that was the deal. We do have ghost runner on because you can see it's an unearned run from Minter, and they don't have any errors anywhere. So it wasn't because of an error. It was because those don't count, those ones on second base. Meanwhile, we played more of everybody's, kind of throwing in, but Soroka had 5 strong, turned it over to Uceta, then Silseth, Foley, DaCosta, and Savale, and the bullpen was tremendous. They allowed 4 total hits in the 7 innings of work with 6 strikeouts and a walk. Just excellent work. Green hit his 16th. He is dialed in right now. So then from there, after the Atlanta series, we get a day off. We head out west to San Diego. We dropped 2 out of 3. The 12-11 loss was really tough. They had a 7-run 7th, and here, right as I'm bragging and boasting about the bullpen, we're going to see a time when things didn't really go so well for them. I call him Andy every time now. Aaron Ashby, 2 runs in 4 2/3. Not bad. Leaves the team in a nice position, especially after we beat up Darvish. Just got to hold the lead. Madden, Foley, Rom, Silseth, all blasted by this San Diego offense that is still very strong. Looks like they've added Eddie Rosario. Luis Campusano's a full-timer. Otherwise, it's the Padres that we know. Soto, Bogey, Tatis, Machado, Kim. Campusano's already there in real life too, but looks like he's in more of a full-time role. Grisham, Austin Nola, and Jake Cronenworth. And they battered the bullpen. Then we win 3-2, and we drop the rubber match 5-4 on more devastating bullpen play. They got 5 runs in the 8th and 9th combined to spoil a nice Job outing. He and DaCosta combined for 6 2/3 scoreless ball with 3 hits, 3 walks. But Foley and Uceta dump trucked. Watanabe triple, Baez homer, but it's all for naught. Then we go out to Seattle, drop the first one 1-0. Nice battle there. Skubal, I want to say he's from that area. No, it says Kingman, Arizona. Maybe I'm thinking of Matthew Boyd. That's exactly who I'm thinking of. But he and Gilbert go toe-to-toe in an excellent duel here. They go to their big boys out of the bullpen, Brash and Munoz. We go to one of ours and Silseth. So this would have been a hell of a game to watch in real life between our team that's really competing. And I don't actually know where Seattle is in the universe. And they're 46-40. So yeah, 2 competing teams battling it out on a Friday night, that 1-0 game. Then 4-3 the next day, we get that one. Love to see that. Soroka goes 6 scoreless. Ray drops a baseline quality start. It just wasn't enough. Watanabe with another triple. Riley Green with a couple hits. And we get the dub. So pivotal Sunday game, and we get dumped. 7-1. Ashby smoked. Kirby nails. And we were down. It was scoreless through 3. They scored 1 in the 4th, but then 5 in the 5th, and that was really all she wrote. I mean, we scored 1, so they didn't need much more than that to take care of us there. So another losing series, back-to-back losing series for the first time in a while. Did we have any back-to-backs in May? We lost this White Sox series after splitting with Boston. No, we didn't. We didn't lose back-to-back series in May. So we do that in June. However, we're okay because we rebounded with a series win at home to the Angels, 2-1 loss, but then won 4-1 and 13-0. I love looking at the big scores. Meadows goes, I gotta say the right Meadows, right? Because there's 2 of them. So Austin Meadows goes yard twice for his 8th and 9th of the year. Jake Rogers gets his 9th. Skubal, 7 scoreless. You love to see it. And then we do drop this series here against Toronto unless we had a game 4. No. So 8-4 loss, 4-2 loss, and then an 8-1 win. So that closes out the month. So we lost 3 of the last 4 series. However, we were so strong early on that we ended up going 17-9, just a bit better than we were in May at 17-12. And then as you can see here, we're 7-3 in July. Were there any key games to cover there? Houston, we open with Houston. They're okay. They're 43-46, so they're not really a powerhouse, but I do like taking care of them. Actually, we take 3 of 4 in Houston. Then we bounce up to Arlington to face Texas, and we take 2 of 3 from them. So we handled the Texas 2-step beautifully. Take an off day, come home, face Baltimore 3 times, and now here we are at the draft. We take 2 of 3 from Baltimore, and now you're caught up. So we're 56-33. We are in first place by 10 games. The team is performing beautifully, y'all. I'm really, really surprised by this. Obviously, I knew Watanabe was going to be a big pickup, but it's really more than just one guy, as is always the case in baseball. And the simple fact is that the bullpen and starting rotation, so the pitching as a whole, has been such a strong unit, in addition to Watanabe and Green carrying the offense, that we've become, a bit of a first half power. It's early, and I don't want to say we're a powerhouse that can't be touched right now, but so far we're looking really strong. We are the best, tied for the best league, best record. No, Baltimore has us by 1 in the loss column. They're 56-32 or 56-33, and then the Dodgers at 57-31 are the best that baseball has to offer. The Reds at 50-37, fresh off of their Shohei Ohtani pickup. Look at that, to go with Julio Urias, and Ellie killing it. Oh my God, so Shohei, wow. They're having an amazing season. They're the other 50-win team. So we got 4 50-win ball clubs, a handful at 49 as we enter the draft. We're not going to do the draft here in this episode, but I do want to get caught up on where the team is statistically this year, because we are doing so well. Let's dive in and see what's going on. You see a lot of first and seconds here on the rankings board, and you love to see that. Don't see too many double-digit rankings. You see 15th in strikeouts. Hey, when you're blasting the ball all over the place, you're going to have some strikeouts. It's a trade-off that we're fine making. And when you're also blasting the ball all over the place, you don't need to steal. So we're 11th in steals, so be it. On the pitching side, we're 11th in strikeouts, meaning we don't strike out many guys. And, you know, I don't love that. That's not my normal setup, but I can live with it when I see all these first, second, and thirds all over the place. Bullpen ERA is 4th. We'll accept that. That's no problem. When all the performance is there, if it's not necessarily be a strikeout, that's okay. We're 2nd in home runs allowed, 2nd in BABIP, because the defense is really tight. And that was something that we wanted to improve big time this year to really help our pitchers, because I knew we didn't have the deepest pitching in terms of pure quality talent. You know, looking at a bunch of greens and blues as far as the ratings, we don't have that. So we need our guys to get the most out of their skills, and having a supporting defense and of course a nice supporting offense is what's going to do that, and that's where we're at right now. Looking at our record, we are beating we're under our Pythag record, which is 58-31. That takes your runs scored, runs allowed, uses a formula to give an expected record. It's a pretty strong measurement to give you a good idea. Obviously, it's not perfect. There are teams that beat or underperform their Pythag every year, but if you're looking for indicators of a team and you know how real their performance is to the positive or negative, you look at a Pythag record and you can get a good idea more often than not. 1-run games were 11-13. Again, expected is about 500, so we're just under that, and it's obviously not hurting us too badly. Lefties, they don't want to come to town, man. 15-6 against lefties. That's a 714 win percentage. Absolutely awesome. Not to sleep on what we're doing against righties. 41-27. That's a 602 win mark. No issues there, but obviously lefties were really dominating them. Smaller sample too, easier to kind of have that gaudy record. Let's get into some statistics. Let's see, did I copy? I got some other notes here, but that's actually for the next episode. I'm already taking my notes out for the next episode. For the rest of this one here, we're going to go through the stats, kind of get a little bow on where we're at, and then the next episode is going to be prospect report and the draft. So we'll have that all confined in the same episode there. For those that really like to follow the farm system, that's going to be a big episode for you. So the hitting, this is actually just May. I was going to do it by month to kind of highlight who did best, so let's do that. We'll look at May, June, and then I guess the 9 games in July, and then we'll add it all up and see where everybody's at. I do believe, the war column is always composite, so Watanabe did not have 4.4 WAR in May. However, he does have 4.4 WAR on July 11th, which is still pretty amazing in its own right. So let's just take a look. In May, you know, Riley Green got Player of the Month. We don't have to go over his numbers again. Don't sleep on what Watanabe did, by the way. He hit 10 homers, which was actually one more than Green, and he had a 203 WRC+. So picking between those two probably wasn't super easy, although push come to shove, you got to go with the guy who hit almost 400, had the better OPS, had the more ribbies, scored the more runs. Just the one homer difference for Watanabe, definitely not enough there, but he's a pretty viable number two. Just making sure he scored more runs. Yeah. Green had 26 runs scored? Runs scored 28 and 26 driven in. So he was the clear pick, but considering how great Watanabe was as a number 2 for the Player of the Month, not that they show a ranking, but you got to imagine he was the second best. Both on the same team, that's pretty obscene. Torque, rough one, 71 WRC+. He had our second most plate appearances. Adames was right there cooking with Green and Watanabe. He had 9 homers himself with a 145 WRC+. That's huge. We had 3 guys that you just could not get out there in those top 4 of the lineup. Let's see where Meadows was. Now he's next as far as the 4th most plate appearances. He was a 91 WRC+, which isn't great, but it's certainly not killing us. And, you know, there's kind of the ancillary benefit of always having these guys on. He was still able to drive in 9 runs. Well, I guess that's actually not that huge because Watanabe was probably always driving in Green. So maybe Meadows should have had more ribbies, but Watanabe was just making sure it was only him who was on base. So Meadows had only a mediocre month, not that great. Badu, 101 plate appearances. He had 107 WRC+, not bad. Baez, not great, 70 WRC+ in May. McKinstry was good at 109. Parker Meadows had a 146 in part-time duty. Matt Vierling had a 148 in part-time duty, and they happen to share the role. So, they were actually, no. Meadows plays against both sides. So why did he have so few plate appearances back in May? I'm trying to think. I think maybe, well, hang on, I can just look. I'm acting like I have incomplete info here. I don't really know why. Now of course, this is the roster in July, but maybe back in May he was splitting time with like Badu or something. Because yeah, he's like way down in plate appearances at 57. Only played 15 of the games. Was he out? Am I not remembering an injury from him? No, that's not the case. So yeah, I guess he was just having playing time eaten up. But either way, Parker Meadows was great. Vierling was great. Everything went well in May. Then we'll go over to June. Time frame, Paul. Sorted by plate appearances again, and you got Watanabe not missing a beat, dropping a 170 WRC plus, 7 homers, 17 ribbies, 5 homers, 15 ribbies, and a 136 for Green. So they were both amazing once again. Adames and Torque both fell off a cliff. I mean, Adames was brilliant in the month, and so he fell way down to a 38 WRC plus. Torque wasn't even that good and still fell off a cliff down to a 31. But Baez picked up some of the slack. Austin Meadows was electric with a 151 WRC plus. Parker Meadows had a 109. Jake Rogers had a 108. So that's 8% above league average. If you don't know WRC plus there, just throw that in because I've been referencing it a ton. And so just looking by the homers, Watanabe 7, Green 5, Austin Meadows 4 by the ribbies. Watanabe and Green, of course, leading the way, but Parker Meadows and Torkelson 13 apiece. So, this is what I was talking about, and I was trying to say that Austin Meadows maybe could have done last month, but maybe if Watanabe just wasn't giving him the opportunities by clearing the bases, that's why he didn't do it. But even in a really bad month for Torque, he was still able to drive in 13, which is tied for the third most on the club. So that's pretty nice that he could have some impact there despite the fact that he's just objectively hitting poorly. 31 WRC plus, you cannot fake that as anything but horrendous, and yet the damage that he did do was impactful because it drove in 13 guys. So I like to see that for Torque. I still root for him so much. Love him in real life. He's really starting to come on. That feels great as a real life Tigers fan as well, but I would like to see him come together a bit more here in our world. Then you go to July, and it's only been 9 games, so we're not going crazy off anything, but Watanabe, another 3 homers, couple for Adames, Baez, and Austin Meadows. 10 ribbies already in 10 games for Watanabe. That's pretty big. He does only have a 97 WRC plus, though, so I'm gonna need him to get going. No, I'm just kidding. Obviously, he's been truly electric. So let's take a look at the composite now, and we'll go by position. We've got Jake Rogers sitting with a 92 WRC plus and a 1.1 WAR. Got no issues there. My only little gripe is a sub 300 OBP. I would certainly love to see that at least on the right side of 300, even if it was, last year's 302 or the year before's 306. It's nitpicky, but anytime you see that OBP start with a 2, it's just so gross. And it's 3 points up to 302, and it would make me feel way better than a normal 3-point boost would, just in terms of optics. I admit that it's not a tangible difference. It's all about the feeling on that one. But I got no problems with what he's doing because he brings so much behind the dish. He just needs to kind of stay afloat. I said last year's 77 wasn't even that bad, so I'm comfortable with 92. Dingler on the backup is a 53. Unfortunately, he's really not taking to backing up, at least at the dish, but he does still have a positive WAR because he too brings a lot with a 60 ability and 70 arm. Torque over at first has a 63 WRC plus on the year, y'all. It's a pivotal second half for him coming up. He really needs to figure some things out, or it's going to get a little bit difficult to consistently play him. It's just going to, especially at a power position where you need a bat to really justify playing every single day. Watanabe, you already know, 4.4 WAR, 165 WRC plus. He's obviously been an absolute superstar in every possible way. 29 homers already, a 1,003 OPS. He's a game changer. We signed him to the huge deal, and if he plays like this, then obviously he's going to opt out after the 3rd year, which, hey, that's okay. That's okay because it's still a 40 avoid K. And I've seen guys like this have a great first year or two and then kind of plateau or fall off pretty quickly. So I'm all right with that. We took the gamble that we wanted to, and we're playing for the here and now, which turns out, didn't think we'd be a contender in 2024, but wake up on July 11th and we damn well are. And I'm glad we have Watanabe because Mr. Blue Collar over here is playing his ass off. Then Willie Adames over at short was a nice pickup. He's already on pace to destroy last year, basically double his output almost, with a 5 projected WAR. He's at 3.2 last year, so not quite double. But he's having a wonderful year without a doubt. 19 homers already. He's on pace for 35. That would be a new career high. 109 ribbies would also be a career high. So with the 96 runs, bottom line, he's pacing toward a career year. And, of course, brings massive glove and clubhouse impact over at shortstop as a captain. So we love that. He's kind of that quintessential team leader there to go with some of the guys who have been here throughout the rebuild. And then he comes over and kind of says, hey, I've been through some things too. I played in different spots like Tampa Bay and Milwaukee. I can bring some experience and help put the finishing touches on this. And, in this world that we've concocted, he and Baez are best friends. They're having a great time. That said, Baez, he's doing all right. Okay, he put up a 65 last year. That is unacceptable. For me personally, there is no level of defense that can justify that. I don't love to completely give away a lineup spot. So my threshold, you watch my streams or you watch my previous franchises, I'm always like, you got to give me at least an 80. I can work with a 75 if you're really good at short or something. But it's tough. Now, catcher's a different thing, by the way. Catcher, if you're great enough behind the dish, Jeff Mathis style, I'll take a 45. But everyday shortstop, I need more than a 65. 83? Okay. I can actually get there with that because it's 2 WAR right now. It's pacing toward 3.4. And if I'm getting 3.5 wins out of him, I'm down for it. He's making 25 mil. You figure 1 WAR on the market is closer to 9-10 mil these days as opposed to the 8 it was a few years ago. But even if it was the 8, you're still making money on 3.4. If it's the 10, obviously you're doing fine there. But bottom line, this works. But I know that the line for him, the margin for error is microscopic. It's impossible to see with the human eye. So it can fall off quickly. But I love that he's doing well enough to feel like playing Baez every single day isn't the dumbest thing ever. Parker Meadows, 119 WRC plus with a 1.3 WAR. He plays brilliant defense. That's a through line of this team. We talked about how well it's performing right now, but at the beginning of the year and through the offseason, we talked about how we wanted to change that, and it has really come to fruition. You see he's an 85 in left, 70 in center, and a 65 with a 75 potential in right. Parker Meadows, he's at 119. He can obviously play below that and still be a value add, but I love that he's an overperforming hitter. Or not overperforming, that implies that he can't hold it. I love that he's a plus performing hitter in addition to that beautiful defense. Riley Green, talked a lot about him already. His composite after that big May, 158 WRC plus. He's already got 3 wins. He's pacing toward 5.6. 18 homers, 50 ribbies, 69 runs, which is very nice. He's pacing toward 126 there. 33 homers, 321, 389, 568. Just so much to like about what Riley Green's doing. I would love for him to evolve like this in real life, of course. I'm excited about him. I really am. Both, of course, where we're at here in OOTP, but also in real life. I'm starting to get my Tigers hope really high again. Getting the pitchers back with Skubal and Eduardo Rodriguez returning on like back-to-back days or in the same week. And then Green's back. You got some things going where some other of the contributing guys are playing a little bit better. I know they're sitting at 39 and 50. I'm not expecting some big turnaround this year, but just play some competitive ball the way they did from May 1st on in 2021. Not to make this a whole big rant about the Tigers. And let me give my shout to Michael Lorenzen, all-star. Probably should have been Eduardo between the two, but I don't want to take anything away from Michael Lorenzen. Nice season. Big fan of his in Cincinnati. Glad that the Tigers got him, and he became an all-star. But then wrapping up our defensive players, Austin Meadows out in right field. capable enough fielder. Probably he and his brother need to switch. I'll flip that right now. But he's got 2.2 WAR. He's pacing toward a 4-win season with 11 homers, 40 ribbies, and 51 runs. That paces toward 20, 73, and 93. He's hitting 300, 369, 479, and just looking nice and staying healthy too, which is important. But let me flip these two, and then we'll put Badu in the backup. Veerling is a capable backup as well, but he plays against lefties. And then McKinstry is our DH with a 109 WRC plus. He got about a half win, of course. At DH, I'm not really going to focus too much on WAR because it's really hard to score there. So I just want to know that you're being a plus bat, which he is, and he's a 115 against righties, and that's the important part because he doesn't even play against lefties, as you can see here. It's Torque at DH with Veerling over at first, which maybe that is inefficient. Can Meadows play first? Does he want to learn? No, I don't think he can, so we'll do this. Boom. How's that look? Actually, no. Green back in center, Meadows. Okay, there we go. Green back in center, Veerling in left, Parker in right. Now, Veerling has the bigger arm, but it's only 5 better than Parker, and Parker's better everything else. So I kind of want him, in center, actually. No, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put Parker in center, Green in left, and then Veerling in right. I think that's a good answer. Yeah, let's do that. By the way, Jermaine Palacios is not long for this squad. As we find somebody that we want to add at the deadline, his spot will get taken. I mean, he's a defensive ad, but that's really it. He has a 6 WRC plus on the year. That's a tough scene for sure. My boy Akil Badu, 75 WRC plus. Don't care. He can do no wrong. He's a god and a hero, and he'll be on this team forever. No, I'm just kidding. We can upgrade him and maybe send him back to AAA if we have to. But right now, as a 5th outfielder, it's all right to hold him. We'll see if we have to move off of that as we advance. Let's head over to the pitching. Take a look at what's going on here. Let's look at our starters, sort by innings. And Tarek Skubal, has a 3.48 ERA and a 1.20 WHIP. That's a 1.25 ERA plus, so he's 25% better than league average. Works the same as WRC plus. 15% strikeout minus walk. That's really nice. And 98 1/3 innings. 1.2 homer 9 because you see the 45 movement. But in our park, we can hide that a bit more, especially with our great defense. So I'm not super worried about it. Obviously, if we got in a playoff situation, if we make it, which is we got a long way before that's locked into anything. I've blown more than 10 game leads before, y'all. I'm not even going to front. So if we got into a situation where we were playing a team in a more hitter-friendly venue, then we would align our rotation to get Skubal pitching at home. Soroka, 90 innings of a 3.30 ERA and a 1.18 WHIP. He has been a revelation, and he's overperforming without a doubt, but he has a 255 BABIP because that defense is taking care of him, and he's probably getting some good luck too. I'm not going to pretend that it's all just this masterminded defense by yours truly. It's a 470 FIP, so he's above his skis, but I do think there are elements that make it more viable than just saying, oh, he's a 470 FIP versus a 370 ERA. He's going to regress all the way there. I would say I would put him more like a true talent 390 to 410 ERA, which would still be beating the FIP, right? So I'm pretty comfortable with where he's at, especially because I don't really buy the 1.3 homer 9 as a major issue. Now, he has had some more homer issues dating back to AAA last year and the year before, but he's a 55 movement as a ground ball pitcher. I think he can be doing better there, and hopefully we see him improve. I wish he would miss more bats. Part of it, there's a lot of contact too, so it does put a big burden on that BABIP, but right now, Rock's doing it, and he's got high work ethic, so maybe we can squeeze even a bit more talent out of the 26-year-old. Our number 3 guy by innings is Aaron Ashby. Not that I would ever mess up his name. You'd have to be a real dumb to do that. 3.17 ERA, 1.24 WHIP, 19% strikeout minus walk. I mean, could be panning out better than, could be panning out any better. Exceeding expectations. Things are going beautifully. I was down for like a growing pains type of year with him and really kind of take off next year. Boom, things have hit instantly. He's got a 308 BABIP, which isn't even egregious. That's probably a little bit worse than average, to be honest. So he's not just riding some crazy BABIP. He misses bats, The walks have been the big thing. 8% walk rate on a 45 control for somebody who's lived in more of that 9 to 10 range. That's the part that hopefully that can stick. Hopefully there's some real growth there with Ashby to where maybe even one of the next progress reports we see a 50 or even maybe some potential beyond, maybe a 55 potential for his control with a 50 current. I don't know. That would be huge though, because that would show some real growth with him as opposed to maybe just running really hot for these 18 starts, and maybe that puts the walk rate in some danger going forward. So you see a 356 FIP with a 317 ERA. If he works his way back toward that FIP, we can live with that. Ronnie Enriquez, he gets an opener, so he comes in to follow, and it's been working out really nicely. Straight 55s down the board. Actually, I think he was, and now he's 50 control with a 55 potential still, but he has nice stuff. Truly don't understand why he's only got 55 stuff. 93, 95 is not crazy, but it's like positive velo. He's definitely above average, sitting at 94. With 2 plus pitches, the 70 slider, the 65 splitter. I guess it is only a 55 fastball, but I don't know how this isn't 60 stuff. I've given up complaining too much. I know it's not even complaining, but I've had issues this year where my read is that the stuff comes in lower than it should, and I just need to recalibrate, right? If you're seeing consistent things, maybe it's your calibration that's off, Paul. But he's been great. I didn't even give his numbers, pardon me. And Mr. Enriquez, 261 ERA, 113 whip in 76 innings. This is working beautifully for him. Things are going very, very well for Ronnie Enriquez. And then Jackson Jobe also gets an opener, and he's been flourishing at a 397 ERA, 129 whip. That's wonderful for a fifth starter in 77 innings of work. We will take that all day. He is extreme fly ball, but he only has a .6 homer 9, so we could probably expect that to regress a little bit, maybe back toward that 1-1 mark that we've seen him put up the last couple of years in high A. So I'm preparing for that potential, but there's also some growth potential here. This is the 57th ranked prospect. Says he's got 55 upside. Now I see 5 potential on his slider and 5 potential on his stuff. Oh, there's 5 potential on the movement as well. Okay, so those categories moving up could certainly help him. We'll take a look at the bullpen, then we'll wrap up here and put a cap on episode 6. So in the bullpen, wow, this is shocking. Oh wait, no, it's not. Never mind. I was like, I couldn't believe that CD-ROM had the most innings. I forgot I made him the stopper this year. I thought he was in a specialist role, but it's because I was conflating a sim from ages ago, my Expos sim, where I literally made him specialist, so I put that in the primary and the secondary role, and we had such a deep bullpen of high stamina guys that were so dominant, along with a good rotation. This was at the peak of the powers for the Expos. He threw 12 innings in a full season. He did not miss a single day due to injury. He had no issues, did CD-ROM, but he was just such a niche pitcher. And we also had 1 batter minimum in that league. So it was back to loogie days, lefty 1-out guy. And he filled that to a T. And it was crazy to get 12 innings. So I was hearkening back to that, like, how did he get so many innings? Well, he's a stopper. So he's supposed to get a ton of innings, and he's not disappointing. CD-ROM's putting up a 350 ERA, 114 whip with a 16% strikeout minus walk. I didn't even change his nickname back to CD. That's what I did. Not a very unique nickname. I will freely admit that. It's not super creative, but that's just what we called him in the Expos franchise, and I'm going to keep that going. My boy Chase Stillseth, big fan of his in real life, as I mentioned when we acquired him from the Angels in this universe. And he's got 61 in the thirds for us, which happens to be exactly what he threw for us last year in a starter's role. He put up a 382 ERA, 121 whip in that time, which is perfectly respectable. Now in 40 relief appearances to get 61 in the third, he has a 279 ERA and a .98 whip with a 21% strikeout minus walk. He is absolutely dominant. This is definitely the role for him right now. If he moves one of the 45s, the movement or control, or even the stamina, I guess, but that's less likely to move up. If he can move one of those 45s up into the 50 range, there is a chance to get back to the rotation. But for now, this is a classic don't fix what ain't broken. We do not have to get him into the rotation because this is working, and you get a high volume as well. Like, it's great to have a starter who packs on innings and does his thing, but if you can get triple-digit innings out of a reliever, as we often do with our stoppers, that has so much value as well. Aaron Savale, some of our starting rotation depth. We haven't needed him right now, knock on wood. Shouldn't have said that out loud. The game is going to hear that, process it, and injure 7 of our pitchers without a doubt. But in 44 2/3 innings, in 29 relief appearances, Savale puts up a 4.03 ERA and a 1.39 whip. Whip's definitely running hot. You can see the FIP says be careful there because of it, especially with a 1.6 homer 9. But I would imagine that the defense is helping him. Other guys are coming in when he leaves runners on and probably stifling some of those jams. This is just my guess. I actually haven't researched this enough. But if you're wondering like how somebody with a 5.19 FIP can post a 4.03 ERA, these are some of the ways. And some of it's just plain luck too, right? You got bases loaded. You're in a hole here. It's a 2-0 pitch, and they lace one right at the third baseman for the third out. And if it was 12 inches, 1 foot over, it's a liner into the outfield and 2 runs will score, right? It can be that simple as well sometimes, but on a more long-term scale, you see things like defense that can pick you up as well as your fellow bullpen mates, and maybe Savali's getting some love there with the quality defense and bullpen that we have. Ty Madden, hook 'em horns. I'm going to say it every time I bring him up. 91st prospect in the league. Going to expire his prospect status probably this year. But he's pitching very well with a 2.11 ERA, 1.24 whip. Now, that's a pretty high whip for such a low ERA. So something's got to give there. We either have to see the base runners come down or the ERA will probably go up, which I understand. He is at 45 right now with straight 50s down the board. 55 stamina. Got no problem with him kind of developing here in the bullpen as a 24-year-old. Definitely like to see him develop into a starter at some point too. So let's see if he can kind of add a couple 5s here and there, maybe make himself a starter candidate. You see he is in that emergency SP role along with Savale. And then we have Edwin Uceda, 37 in the third innings of really nice work at a 3.38 ERA and a 1.10 whip. 22% strikeout minus walk for him. His FIP, now this is one of the first FIPs that we've seen the other way. He's got a 264. They're saying he deserves better, and his 320 BABIP is not serving him well for Uceta. Maybe the defense has been, missing out a little bit on him, or again, just the batted ball distribution could be in a situation where even if the defense is at their best, they're just not going to get to some of the hits that are going through for them. I don't know for sure which. I'm just laying out things that we would look for in real life or to see what would create such a difference here. Bottom line is, though, Uceta's pitching brilliantly, and I love where he's at right now. And that was a Rule 5 pickup, wasn't it? Or a waiver claim? How did we get him? We got Uceta. Oh, he was just on the team already when we started? Oh, well, actually, they got him in real life. Look at all these. Are these all the same? Oh, yeah, this just says the Mets claimed him like 50 times. Recalled, all on the same day. Yeah, so it looks like we did claim him off of waivers, but we didn't specifically, did we? Because I don't understand all this stuff with the Mets and the Pirates. I don't recall the Mets and the Pirates having him. That didn't happen, did it? All levels combined. So the Diamondbacks had him last in 2022. 23, the Mets did him at some point, but not from us, right? God, why am I blanking so much on this? I see right here on 111. Okay, select it. There, this is the answer. The easiest answer right there at the top. He was selected off waivers. So when we start in March, he was already on the team. That's the bottom line there. My bad. Jason Foley, ground ball artist who doesn't allow homers, has a 5.24 ERA and a 1.37 whip, but he has a 3.39 FIP. So he too has been getting BABIP'd a bit, but he also allows a boatload of contact and is an extreme ground baller. Those are two, I mean, they go hand in hand as the way you would definitely allow a ton of hits, even though you have good skills otherwise. And so that can just be the fact that ground balls, they find holes, right? That's where you get your cheap hits. So you can get BABIP to death a bit, or he can just be giving up strong contact too, because he does have 40 stuff. He doesn't miss enough bats. Despite throwing 96, 98 with a power sinker, you would think maybe he could miss some more, but he hasn't beat it into the ground. Hopefully the defense can turn it around for him. Now remember, I think it was he and Brant Herter who were struggling early, and we said we're going to stay committed to them. So let's look at his monthly breakdown. He did get off to a rough start, 6.94 ERA in April for Foley, then a 2.25, then a 10.80, but then a 0 here in July. Then looking at the whips, 154, 117, 195, .50. So it's kind of following the whip there with his performance. DaCosta has his openers role as well as, getting into traditional relief at times. He has a 5.17 ERA and a 1.34 whip. I wonder if it's been the starts or the relieving. He does have a 3.45 FIP, so like Foley, brighter days might be ahead if he can tamp down the 3.22 BABIP. So as good as our defense has been, they've saddled a couple guys with some ugly BABIPs. And again, it's not necessarily their fault. I'm saying they and blaming them. We don't know the batted ball distribution. Let's see here. So the starting might be a problem. DaCosta does have a 6.10 ERA and a 1.55 whip. Starting 4.71, 1.24 in relief. But the skills are better. 15% strikeout minus walk versus 13%. It's a 400 BABIP versus a 283. So what that tells me is it's random noise. It's a 400 BABIP. He's just getting beat up a little bit in some of these starts. I don't think it's inherently tied to him starting. I'm not going to take him out of that role. Alex Lang returned and just recently debuted. He's pitched 4 games, 3 2/3. He was out for a good bit with the shoulder inflammation. Did a little rehab stint in Toledo. 6 1/3 innings, struck out 30% of the batters he faced with a 1.42 ERA and a .63 whip. He's come up in the majors and, like I said, just 3 2/3, but no runs yet, and a .82 whip with a 43% K rate. So he's looking wonderful coming off the injury, back in the closer's role. You got that Silseth, Rom, Lang trio at the back end that really hammers games down for us, and that's a big, big deal. So there we go. We're caught up. It's right around, the break. It's not quite the All-Star break because the draft is a few days before, but we can essentially call this the halfway point here. We do have, 8-9 games played, so we're a little bit above the true 50% mark. But this is where we're at. I mean, we're in a really, really good spot here as one of the premier teams. I think we've got a lot of believability with the success that we're having. I do think we have some moves to make. Maybe we can stabilize with another arm. I would think maybe in the bullpen right now, but I wonder if we could find somebody who might have that sort of swingman viability. Like when we acquired Ashby, we knew that, hey, if things didn't work out in the rotation, we could put him in the bullpen. Well, maybe we look for somebody who we start in the bullpen, but they've got an Ashby-like profile that can move to the rotation if an opening happens. By the way, I mentioned Brant Herter. He's currently suspended. He got in a Donnybrook. You don't want to be getting in those Donnybrooks, y'all. But he really calmed down, too, because, like I said, he was with Foley, who had a really slow start. And I said, we're going to stay committed to him because he had a 15% strikeout minus walk, but a 7.45 ERA in April. He's totally turned it around. 25% in May, 22 in June with sub 2.5 ERAs, 2.25 and 2.02. He's pitched a third of an inning in July. Who gives a shit? But he's been great. So he'll be back, actually, in one more game here. Beeks is 3 weeks away, and of course Mize is out for the year. So Beeks, I don't know. I was about to say something and I saw his stats and it completely changed what I wanted to say. I was gonna say maybe he's the pitching acquisition, but not really because his stats are kind of junked with the injury at 60, 45, 40. So I don't think he's the answer. Let's just take a quick look at the trade block, see if anything's popping up. All right, you see Hendricks and Wheeler, Jansen, Severino. Severino could be somebody. I mean, it would depend if you felt some type of way about being in the bullpen. Although I think if I'm picking him up, especially at 19 mil, unless they were eating some of that money, I would start him. We probably could get a starter and then move Enriquez, and he could be that swingman, right? Because he's already that profile. He's not like a lock starter, must start him, you're so stupid if you don't type of guy. So I think the smart thing would maybe be to put him in a premium relief role and bring in a starter if we go that route. Or Job, same deal. And Job, Enriquez is performing so well in this follower's role, maybe it would be foolhardy to take him out. So yeah, I think Job would be the one susceptible. But we would pop him in the bullpen. And he goes up, 5 points on the stuff. We'll take it. So I think that's an avenue for sure. But for now, we got the team as is. And then as far as relievers, who would go? Because again, we've also got Herter coming right back. So we're already one heavy. So maybe I'm wrong about needing a pitcher. Now again, I keep saying these things. I'm really testing the game to mess with us. We have a running meme on the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/spore, about anytime I say this type of stuff, this sort of confident stuff out loud, the game hears me and promptly rewrites the code to make sure that I will rue the day that I had such confidence. The hubris of this one, you know? So yeah, I don't know. And then on the offensive side, maybe a first baseman for Torque. And then Torque is sharing time DHing with McKinstry. Is there a big bat out there? We could also go DH with it if we just want to get the biggest bat, whoever that might be. Batters, you got Tim Anderson. That's not the kind of bat that we would get for that. It'd be more of a Kyle Schwarber, and just take on the crazy power and see if he can catch fire a bit with like run like a 280 BABIP for the second half, which isn't even that great, but for a power hitter like him, it'd be quite a bit. So there's some interesting veteran guys. We'll take a look at all of it. But like I said, the next episode is going to be a down on the farm type report. We're going to go through a bunch of our prospects, see where they're at, give you updates there on those guys, as well as get into the draft. Don't forget, y'all, you might have forgotten because it's been a while since I've posted, and it's been a while since we saw this. We won the draft lottery in a big way. Now, when I say won, you would think, oh, you went to number one overall pick. No, not quite. But when I say we won, it means we got a surplus. We were the 10th slotted team, and we are now picking 3 again, just like last year. So we'll take a look at all of that, see who we want to pick, see which way we want to go there. It'll be all sorts of interesting information about the farm system next episode. But thank you so much for watching. Hit a like, hit a subscribe. Also got a Rockies video coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Appreciate you watching. Take care.